and welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the improvisational storytelling podcast, where every week a few friends get together with their randomly designed and randomly formulated story elements, combine them together into a story that you can listen to and not get bored. Hello, I am, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we are here to tell you a story. What story elements did you guys have?
A famous person.
I had, I forget how to say it, but it's like Deus, God of the Machine or something like that.
Oh, Deus Ex Machina?
Yeah.
Cool. I had genre. So maybe should I go first?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Spaghetti Western. Stranger comes into town, is forced to clean it up. He's fast with the guns. I don't know if these guns are real guns, if they're like crossbows, if he's throwing knives. I don't know what that is, but he's fast at the draw. I don't know if that's a genre, but here we are. Meow, meow, meow. Okay. Reed, you had what again?
I have a famous person.
Let's hear about him.
Rodney Corrigan. He is famous for I would say a breakthrough in technology, but it's in metallurgy. He has developed new ways to make steel. He's just jumped ahead of all. I mean, things that you could make out of steel, things that you could make out of metal.
Right.
He is famous for. He's incredibly wealthy because he has developed a process for making rails for train tracks.
Yeah.
That are strong and lighter and easier to handle in the construction phase, and they just wear and wear and wear. And his specific area of expertise is firearms, barrels, cold rolled steel, putting together the materials to build quality firearms. However, they don't come cheap.
Right.
And it's interesting that the Old West, built on the old equalizer, the 6-gun. Well, this guy has, it's just with using his technology, the firearms produced at his plant are just leaps and bounds ahead of anything that anybody else has been producing. So they're sought after, and
so this guy isn't like this is a fictionist famous person, right? Because I know you've done real people in the past.
Yeah, I know. This guy is just famous in this world.
Gotcha.
Okay. In our story, he's famous in the people that are in our story would know about him.
Right.
He is not somebody that lived in real time.
Okay. So here we have a sort of technology far beyond itself.
Right.
Right.
Edged weapons, other, things like that, knives and blades, the guys that are the settlers heading west. If you've got a Corrigan axe, it just doesn't get dull like the old ones.
Right. Right.
And easier to hold an edge. Yeah.
Now, is he a for true guy?
Oh yeah, he is fascinated by the process of metallurgy. He is fascinated by what it takes to make a harder, stronger, edged weapon that will hold it will be flexible and not brittle, but yet it will hold its edge and stay sharp. These are the kinds of things that he's famous for. His firearms shoot true, and yeah, he's the real deal. And he's doesn't mind making a buck off it.
Right. So I think we should go with alternative history, because I have kind of this picture that not only is he making things stronger, but he's also revolutionizing things as well.
Yeah.
Right. So carriages.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Made out of like super steel.
Right. And
maybe it's a place where
and the springs, for suspension for carts, wagons, rail carriages, train cars.
Right. Like, what if this is the sort of thing where I don't know how do we find titanium? He could be like a master mixer, like I just have this, like, I really like this picture of an old world where there's just some things that are just so far beyond, maybe he develops a spring that it's like an engine, except it uses, 60 shotgun shells to load these compression springs. And it's like your beginnings of what will be like an automobile.
Yeah.
But it uses like this really high tensile strength steel springs, and then it's kind of like not cyberpunk, but kind of steampunk together to create this what could be considered like a normal, like a car.
Yeah.
Right. Except back before that was even a thing.
Right.
I like it. So what's the story then?
Well, we're out west. You got a town probably built up around either cattle or mining. I don't know. We should pick one.
Or a railroad town.
Yeah, railroad town. I would say that we're at a railroad, built on the railroad, but there's mining concerns and
kind of
Corrigan.
a junction town between one cattle town to the west and a mining town to the south.
Right.
And so it's kind of a conjunction where all the cattle get shipped up, and they kind of make an interjection here. So it's kind of a bigger town for the area, because it's, kind of a hub of, all the ores making it to the kind of where the factories on the coast.
Right. Right.
And the cattle going to market.
I would say Corrigan makes a trip out here because because some of the mining, some of the ore specific, to his business, and he is he's fascinated by this new metal, this new ore that has been discovered.
And not only is he fascinated by this new ore that's been discovered, but he also, one of his sort of side hobbies is he loves a good thoroughbred horse.
Ooh, yeah.
He's also really interested in the process, just like the process of refining a metal to a specific purpose, the process of refining the breeding of a horse to a specific purpose really interests him a lot.
So
coming to this town's kind of like a double whammy, He's got like there's like a bunch of horses that are going to be brought up from one place, and then some core samples coming from another place.
Yeah, and like one of the big ranchers out here has back in the day kind of cut his teeth on rounding up the Mustangs, the wild horses, and Corrigan has his prize Arabian, and he's bringing it out for breeding, and he wants to get the strength of the Western Indian pony and the elegance and the aristocratic bearing of the top flight.
And there it is.
Yeah.
So Corrigan is his train is going to arrive at 3 p.m. on Friday night.
Okay.
Right. And so who's already there? Tons of people. Because Corrigan, when he comes to town, it's a bit like Tony Stark or Elon Musk.
Yeah. Exactly.
People are just hungry to say, look at my idea.
Right.
Right.
This is my big break.
Yeah. So there's basically kind of a World's Fair convention kind of pops up around him wherever he goes.
Yeah.
And a couple of these criminals, these unsavory types, are looking at it now and saying there's going to be a bunch of valuable horses, people with their valuable weapon tech. We could basically hold the entire place captive, steal a bunch of stuff, right? And then leave before Corrigan even gets here. And so that is what happens on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right? On Thursday, our hero comes into town to do something. Maybe he's one of the miners bringing in core samples. Maybe he's got a great idea. Maybe he's a horse breeder. Maybe he's just a guy. Maybe he's just a cowboy, just trying to, whatever, a war survivor, with a couple of deadly hands that are deadly, whoever he is, he kind of comes into this tense situation as these thieves have basically taken the entire town hostage and are just waiting as more people come in, right? And they've gotten a bit in over their head at this point because people keep coming in and they're barely keeping everyone under gunpoint, right? Mm-hmm. But more people are coming in and they have to leave at some point because Corrigan also comes with, it's his own train.
And his own security detail.
Yeah, his own private army, basically.
Yeah, ex-military. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, top flight.
So we got to leave.
And of course, not to mention not only trained, disciplined security personnel, but they're packing Corrigan sidearms.
Yeah, Corrigan repeaters, they call them now.
Yeah.
There's a new thing. There's a new thing that they have. Apparently, they can fire much faster.
I'm thinking, I had this idea earlier, and I was thinking kind of like a paintball gun has a hopper.
Oh.
He's got it on a timer. So it's I always thought about how would you do this for if this is an old timey thing? How would you get a musket to almost with a paintball gun where it has all the balls up on the top on a hopper and it just drops in. But then it's all on a timer. He's got, the nice steel rounded barrels, so it stays, let's say, pretty accurate. But he's just got like a hopper that you just load it up with like the musket shot. But then it's like I don't know, maybe like a second hopper that drops in just enough gunpowder, for each one, and the compression or the however that works with the explosion of the one kind of knocks should know this, but it knocks the hammer, not the hammer, but the mechanism back to slide the next one up. So it'll ultimately shoot as fast as you can pull the trigger because
it uses blowback.
Yeah.
Like what an AR-15 does, or like what a AK-47 does. Yeah, but they can't kidnap him, right? Which is kind of what a couple of them want to do, is try and kidnap him, because obviously that would like be the best, but they're like, we got to leave before that. And so this hero rolls into town on like Thursday afternoon. And the whole thing happens between Thursday at 3 to Friday at 3. And I'm not saying that him coming is the Deus Ex Machina, because Seth, you've already have your own thing. So it has to be something else besides that, But this the whole thing takes place in a very short amount of time, where the hero kind of comes in, takes stock of what's happening, and then maybe is entreated by someone to help out, or feels like he needs to help out based on his own sense of, moral good or whatever. And this is the one of those stories where at first, like the village people don't want to help because they're all scared.
Right.
And then they all get really courageous because they see him winning, and then they try to rise up, and then a bunch of them get killed, and then they get scared. Because that's kind of like a reality. It's like, just because there's more of you than there are of them doesn't mean that they can't shoot you. It's like that whole lesson of there's more of us than there are of you. It's like, well, I have 6 bullets in this, so I can kill at least 6 people. So, but what is the hero? Is he like a wanderer, or does he have some cool invention that gives him kind of an edge up? Seth, unless you want to tell us what the Deus Ex Machina is, and then we can, because part of Deus Ex Machina is that it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a little bit ridiculous.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, so kind of as it's all boiling down, so the Deus Ex Machina is, I don't know how the entrance, but basically like the sky unrolls and like this ferocious dragon beast comes out and basically says, I've had enough of you, doing whatever you're doing, and just decimates, the villain.
Okay.
Like a literal dragon, like the sky rolls open, and like I wouldn't say an ungodly beast, but like just like in this case, it would work just perfect because it's something that they wouldn't expect. And it's basically like this spirit god or whatever that basically comes down and just like either whoops up on everybody because he's had enough of watching them do whatever it is that they're doing, or simply maybe takes pity on the plight of the hero and sees that they're kind of in a kind of winless situation, and kind of ascends on the town, and just like there's nothing like I don't know, just like so ferocious and like large, like scales, like so all their bullets, like they can't pierce his scales, and he's not out to kill everybody, but he just like comes out of nowhere, and like no one's like there's no lore of dragons, there's no nothing, it just shows out of nowhere pretty much. Breathes fire, like destroys half the town that is enveloped with all the villains, and basically announces that he's had enough of what's going on, and puts an end to it.
Then he just leaves.
And he just leaves. Sure.
And Corgan shows up to the blasted town, and things didn't go the way everybody planned.
Yeah, and no one would tell him. He kept asking, what weapon? Who was it that brought the weapon that did this? And no one would tell him.
Yeah, because it was a dragon. Yeah, right. Yeah. The sky just opened up and this dragon swooped down and just opened a can of whoop. Well, I shouldn't say those words, but it just took care of the bad guy, shall we say.
Although I do think that the hero has like his idea that he was bringing, or that someone did, and that they bring to, I'm bad with names here. What's the guy's name?
Corrigan.
Kerrigan?
Was it Kerrigan?
Rodney Corrigan.
Rodney.
Okay. So Rodney Corrigan, and I'd say it's kind of in light of what had happened, kind of answers one problem that they're kind of scared of, but it also like is kind of an ingenuitive idea, because this town it's always pretty crowded, and there's always a fight between the cattlemen and the miners on who gets, let's say, top priority of the rail to send goods.
Right.
And so what this idea is for, like in this case particular, like the mining, is to basically build a subway, a subterranean. So the mining doesn't ever leave the ground. It all is basically, it'd be like the idea of a pipeline, except it's with
Mined materials.
Mined materials, yeah.
That's kind of cool.
And therefore, that kind of gives an avenue to run commerce kind of underground, where then they feel that, if this ever comes back, like, maybe this will be out of sight, out of mind.
That could be kind of that'd be kind of a weird ending. I guess I don't know what I expected from a Deus Ex Machina. So they're fighting in the streets, right? And they're like looking at the clock as it's clicking over, right? And they just need to hold out until 3:00, right? But it's currently like 12:30 or something, And the hero is using his new magnet gun, right? Where he charges up rudimentary batteries and then can fire pieces of metal at extremely high velocity, basically a gauze rifle,
Yeah.
And it's quiet. That's one of the things that's nice about it. And they're like defending and defending and defending. And then, it's like 1:30 or it's 2:00 and you just hear the first far off like of the train. Okay, it's on its way. And all the bad guys have all the good, all the remaining good guys in a huge pile, and they're like all tied up, and they're like kind of like, what should we do? Should we and they're like, we gotta go right now. And so they decide just to leave them all there, right? And then they just start riding out of town with like all the trailers and wagons full of all the like horses and basically all the goods. And then there's just like a flash of light and this thing kind of descends and just like, and everyone's kind of like tied up in town and they're just like watching this happen in kind of like stunned silence as the dragon just flies around yelling about how stupid everyone is and how he doesn't like this and how he's not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they're just all like, okay, all right, that's happened. Okay.
And he does it. He leaves back to whence he came. And Corbin, right? Corgan shows up to everybody tied up going, what's up? Well, there was a train robbery or a town holdup.
Yeah, someone held up the town.
I like that idea.
Then they left.
Where did they go? Well, their horses are still over there.
And all our stuff.
That which isn't burnt. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Wait, It Gets Better. If you would like to hear more episodes like this, just look on anywhere you can find a podcast, and you can find this one. If you want to let me know what a great story you thought this was, just send me an email at waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com. If you want to let me know how terrible of a story this was, just let me know. Send me a Twitter, at me on Twitter at @getsbettercast. If you want to hear more stories like this, I would say just wait, it gets better.